again, and welcome to How to Ruin Your Own Reputation, the show where I talk to people who are living lives that some people don't understand and are often judged, criticized, and stigmatized. And I think a lot of that comes from fear, and fear comes from ignorance. And the only way that we're going to get through that is by listening to people who have lived other experiences than we have. And hopefully, the more we learn, the less we judge. That's the hope. Anyway, so I'm very excited for my conversation today. My guest has lived so young and he's already lived such an interesting life. In 2016, Khalil Ray was arrested as part of a huge undercover FBI anti-terrorist sting. The prosecutor described Khalil as a dangerous extremist with ties to ISIS who had made threats against a church. Khalil's lawyer said that this was a perfect example of the improper use of FBI undercover informants. Which was it? Well, Khalil did get convicted and indicted on 2 counts, but none of them had to do with terrorism. He did spend 4 years in jail. And when he got out, he became an outspoken advocate, an activist for the rights of ex-convicts and calling out a very, very flawed judicial and prison system. I have so many questions, so I'm going to get started right away. Thank you, Khalil, for being here and talking with me today.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Well, it's really is such an interesting story. And like I said earlier, I mean, I watched your documentary. I watched your sentencing on YouTube. I mean, it was a big deal. It was a high profile case. And I want to talk about the work you're doing now. And I want to talk about just what goes on inside prison. But we have to talk about your story because from what I saw, you were this 22-year-old kid working at a pizza place, really just looking for love, wanting to find a really good girl and settle down. And next thing you know, you're all over the news as this ISIS extremist. And so, okay, what happened?
I mean, it's definitely an interesting story. I guess I'll kind of start from the beginning. I grew up in a Middle Eastern household. It was a split household. My parents divorced when I was very young. And that alone in itself, having a split household does bring ramifications in itself as far as the children, how they, come up and grow up and what traits to have and all that. I did have this split identity my whole life. Since I am Middle Eastern, I was too Arab to be American, but on the flip side, I was too American to be Arab. So I was kind of lost in the sauce of who am I? What am I? What's my identity? Split household. Also, in my teen years, unfortunately, I was struggling with a lot of mental health problems, depression, anxiety. I was always just the kind of the weird kid in class, just thriving and needing for attention, sometimes would say anything. And you see how that translated to my case. I started to experiment with drugs. I started with marijuana. A lot of people say marijuana is the gateway drug. It's not factual, but for me, it was my start. So it was marijuana. Then I started messing with pills and then alcohol. And then, in turn started to be more harder drugs. I was skipping class, flunking out of my class. I just barely graduated high school, just barely. Out of 70 students, I think I was like the 68th or 69th ranked as far as academic performance. It was bad. It was really, really bad. So it was after high school where everything kind of took a turn even worse than how it was. Not only did the drug use increase, I was working at my family's pizza shop in Detroit metropolitan area. So the friends that I thought I had, there was no more connections with them. So it was just me, myself, and I. College, I did get into it, but I flunked out my first semester. I mean, it was really. I mean, I was getting high and then going to class. Like people were like complaining about like the smell of like the burnt of like marijuana, for example. I remember popping pills in the middle of class. It was bad. It was really bad. So working long hours at my family's pizza shop, with all these problems that I was dealing with, I decided to get a gun because working as a pizza delivery driver, it was really dangerous at the area that I was at. We had drivers in the past who were robbed. So I bought the gun legally. I registered it, but I didn't have a CPL license, where I could conceal it. So Michigan is an open carry state where I can walk around with the gun on my hip and everybody sees it. It's legal. But once I get in the car and I have it with me, it becomes illegal. So one day I was getting off work, I get pulled over, and it was a Detroit cops pulled me over, but it was like 4 squad cars that had pulled me over. And pretty much I was arrested with that. But the whole stop with that was orchestrated by the FBI. The FBI was like, stop him. But The reason why I was under surveillance was that because the emergence of ISIS, the terrorist group, came. And this is going to sound really weird to a lot of people. A lot of people are not going to truly understand it because when they think of ISIS, they think of terrorist extremism, violence. For me, when I started looking at them on social media, it was a sense, a kind of like a belonging type of thing, that they said that they claimed that they were here to bring justice and unity upon all the Muslims. So it was more of the ideological reason for it, not to commit atrocious acts against people. Like, why would a kid, for example, join a gang here for a sense of belonging? That's really what it was. So I was kind of on Twitter on it, looking at pictures, videos. And I guess one day somebody had either tagged the FBI, or that's pretty much how I came under the FBI's watch. So watching those things, looking at that type of propaganda, never in a sense where I wanted to be like, I want to join them or I want to hurt people or anything like that. And the FBI kind of knew it. That's where the FBI undercover informants came into the picture. So I was dealing with my state case, and then I'm lost in the sauce. And mind you, this whole time dealing with this in a sense alone, extraordinarily alone, and dealing with drugs. Initially, looking at it now, the FBI sent men as undercover as terrorists. Like, hey, we need soldiers in the Detroit area, for example, to commit attacks or to join us. And each time I would block them, I would cuss them out, I would even entertain it. So the FBI sat there and be like, you know what? He's missing something. The FBI has their own profilers, just like you see on the shows. Be like, you know what? That's what it is. He's missing a girl in his life. Because mind you, I grew up from high school and even post, never had a date with a girl, never even as much as a hug from a girl. It sounds weird and tacky or whatever, but that's just the facts. And the FBI knew that. So in the course of that investigation, the FBI sent 2 undercover women posing as women to me as potential love interests. The first one, this was the first time I had got any type of attention from a woman. I mean, I was ecstatic. I was happy. I caught feelings so fast. I was like, look, the only way we can make this right is, my parents, your parents, we're going to get married. And she agreed with that. So at this point I said, okay, my life has turned around. I'm finally going to get married. I'm good. And then within a few days after, she said, hey, I had second thoughts. I can't do this anymore. Goodbye. And just blocked me just like that. So dealing with all those issues and then dealing with the fresh heartbreak, it was extraordinarily even worse. I even contemplated suicide a few times. I was like, there's just no reason to live at this point. But that's where FBI agent number 2 came, where everybody sees it on the articles, the news, that everybody's reading about. So they don't forget about the first FBI. They forget about the first one to kind of set the stage. They brought the second one in. And that's where the long texts, phone calls, the exchange of messages, the statements that I made. But this time when I was saying these things to her, I initially thought it was just A and B conversation, just a private conversation. It was not supposed to make it to the news, make it to the courts, be the FBI. You know what I'm saying? It was just the A and B. And as a man, when we say things, we as men might say things to women that we don't necessarily mean to garner their interest. And that's what she wanted to hear. She didn't want to hear about how much I was benching or what kind of car I had. She wanted to hear about acts of terror, me wanting to be a part of ISIS, and to her people, that was turning her on. That's what she wanted. So I was playing that game, being that person that she wanted to hear. Each time I wanted to talk about normal things, she wanted to switch the conversation right back to terrorism. And I felt like I was losing her. And she was like, I don't want to get married. I just want to I just want to hurt people. I said, look, you don't know and I can't play this game with you. So there was a time where I left her alone, didn't even message her anymore because it was getting out of hand. So I ghosted her for 3 days. And within those 3 days, she's blowing up my phone, messages after messages. She made a mistake. She wants me back and all these type of things, And so it was basically an exchange of messages. It was really, I guess, if you want to call it toxic, but at this point, I'm thinking it's just a regular girl that was a potential for a relationship in a sense. But really, when it came down to it, there was never no blueprints. There was never training. There was never going to get guns and bombs or anything like that. It was just A and B type of conversation that I was having with this girl. So I remember the last conversation, the reason why the FBI had ended up arresting me was because the day before I told her, like, you know what? I can't do it anymore. I just want to kill myself. And this is what she told me. Instead of saying, go get help or don't do this, she's saying the only way Islam, the religion of Islam permits this is you kill other people while you're killing yourself, like a martyrdom operation. I'm like, look, and it's clear as day on the public that I don't want to hurt anybody.
Mm.
That's what it is. And then the next day I was raided by the FBI, and that's where all that kind of, took a turn as well.
When you're saying this, what I'm hearing, what's so interesting to me is you hear about organizations like ISIS or like certain gangs who will target people who are vulnerable, like you said, people who are lonely or looking for something to belong to. But it's like the FBI was doing the exact same thing. It wasn't like originally, like I know when you messaged her, you were saying things to sort of impress her and make yourself seem a little more badass and dangerous than you were. But at first, it seemed like you were just kind of looking into things. And then they kind of saw a vulnerability in you and they went to they thought, okay, like this is somebody that we can kind of get in a weird way. And even when you said that they were sending men to kind of try to get you on their side and you said no, it was like, okay, so how can we get this guy? He's lonely. We're going to send it. It's a weird thing because it really did seem like they were setting you up. And to me,
Yeah,
it sounds, and I'm extremely naive, but I'm thinking like, oh my God, meanwhile, there's somebody who's out there really plotting something
yeah,
dangerous and they're wasting all their time and resources on this guy who just wants wants a girlfriend and a happier life. So it's crazy. So you must have been, oh my God, first of all, just the betrayal. I mean,
yeah.
again, you're like, just to find out that this person again wasn't real. That must
When I
have been.
sat at the Yeah, when I sat at the interrogation table, initially I said lawyer numerous times, but they steamrolled past that one. But that's a separate issue. They made it seem like she was in the next room as a suspect as well, and I wanted to take the rap for it, like, "Leave her out of this, leave her alone."
Uh,
Like, that just shows my dumb loyalty, like, she had nothing to do with this. Because at this time, I'm thinking she's in the next room. She's not fit for prison. Send me, I'll go instead of her. You know what I'm saying? That was the whole situation. That's how they made it seem like initially until they dropped the bomb or, like, she was actually I didn't find out until I went to court. They were my first hearing that she was an undercover agent. And then when I found that, that's where you said the heartbreak, the betrayal. I didn't want to believe it. I said, no, that has to be, no, no, that's wrong. You know what I'm saying? Let me look at that paperwork. And then when I initially seen it, that it said that she was as a FBI undercover agent, you know?
and to be clear, it's not like even though you were really, really wanting to connect with this person, even if she had said to you, listen, I'm only going to continue this if you do a horrible act of violence, you weren't going to do that. That was never, were you hoping that because she did seem so obsessed with it, were you hoping that when you'd meet and you get together, that would be in the past? Like you wouldn't.
Uh, uh, Yeah, I think for me, it was a situation, maybe for her, if I don't know if I could say this, if we just slept together, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? I think our problems will just be gone. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what it's, I think that's what she needs and that's what I need. That type of relief, and
Sex
we'll
will
be
solve
okay. That
everything.
wasn't my Yeah, that was in my mind. So,
Okay,
but
so
never that,
then,
never any. Yeah.
and like I said, I mean, there were if you Google you, I mean, there's news reports about it, and they really paint you in a scary, scary
Yeah.
light. So, did it feel completely surreal? Like, was there a part of you that thought, "This isn't me. This can't happen. I'll be okay," or did you know right from the beginning, "I'm screwed"?
I initially thought my life was over. I mean, when the case broke out, and then when the news was coming in, and then I was trying to call back home, and my family was telling me that the FBI is still tailing them, that news organizations are going to their house. I thought my life was over. That was it. And then, I did attempt to kill myself in my
Mm.
jail cell. There was just no turning back after this. So yeah,
So then, what happened? Because you ended up getting they had to drop the whole terrorist part of it because there
yeah.
was
So in
no
this,
proof.
yeah, Yeah, so the feds, they had initially indicted me on the gun charge they had on the state level because I lied on the form to obtain it becomes a federal offense. So they use the semantics, the law codes. That's how they're able to get me federally, just to get me into custody. So 2 weeks later, they go to a grand jury and they try to bring up terrorism charges, which carries anywhere from 0 to life, by the way, as far as the sentence. And the grand jury returned and said, no indictment, like there's not enough evidence, there's no proof. That which is very telling in itself. It's not like it was charged and dropped. It was a fact where, there's this saying in the law world where it says a grand jury will indict a ham sandwich. Like they'll just indict anybody, to just charge anybody, just to charge them. But just to show you there was not a shred of proof that I took those steps right now, which was very telling in itself, I believe.
Okay, so then you lied because you said on your form that you didn't do drugs, right? Was that the thing? And because you did do
Yes,
drugs, you
yeah, this
can.
is hard. Right.
Okay, so
Do you use marijuana? I said no, but I was using marijuana. So because of that, I'm a unlawful person to obtain a firearm because of
oh my God, I'd love to know how many people
that.
lie about that. I have a feeling there's a lot of people who get guns
For
and lie about
sure.
that. My God.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you get indicted for the gun, the firearms charge, and so you got how much time did you get for that? Where were you
So in
sitting?
in the state which I had, which were you seen on that YouTube video, was probation because my case was already federally picked up. That's why the news cameras got out there, be like, okay, we got to get him on camera. We got to see how he is. I got probation in the state, and then the feds, because I was a first time offender, I was only supposed to get 10 to 15 months at most. I already served almost that time anyway.
Mm.
But the feds and the judge was like, because of all his uncharged conduct and everything that we know, we have to give him more time to set an example. I remember the prosecutor met with my attorney off record and said, look, the government has an image to keep up.
I was just
We
going to
can't
say it's
just
all
give him a short
optics.
sentence and let him go. We have to give him a sentence, that's
Ooh.
more than his guidelines. And he wanted an 8-year sentence. So the judge was like, look, I got to split this down the middle and give him 5 years. And that's what ended up happening.
It's optics. It's just because
Yeah.
it's like the war on rhyme kind of thing that they had to make it look
Yeah.
wow, which is really awful
Yeah.
because still, it's like I said, I mean, you're doing all this great stuff, but also if you look you up, you're going to see the newspaper
Yeah.
articles about it. You're going to
Yeah.
see negative. That's going to follow you, and so that's
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
brutal.
Unfortunately, yes. Yes. Unfortunately. Yeah. It'd be a situation for the rest of my life. I have to answer up to that. If it's jobs or if it's educational, if it's whatever, that's the unfortunate part about it.
Now, when you got the sentence and now it's a reality, that's something I can't even wrap my head around. Is knowing that you're saying goodbye to your family for a few years. And I'm sure this was shocking for them because they knew you for you. So this has got to be really devastating for them too. So how do you mentally prepare yourself? And I know you said it was really, really difficult, but you did it. So what is that like that first, I don't know, when you first get there? How do
Yeah.
you do that? I can't even imagine.
Yeah, so in the feds, I'm from Michigan, born and raised in Michigan, but in the feds, they can ship you anywhere in the United States when they send you to prison. So from Michigan, they put me on a plane, which is called Con Air, and they shipped to Indiana. When I touched down in Indiana at the prison I was going to serve my time at, it's in a situation where you have to adapt to your environment. You have to you figure out the rules, you figure out what to do, what not to do, what to say, what not to say. You kind of connect with your people, and you find out how it's kind of run and structured. So it's all about adapting, and that's what I was able to do.
What's
Adapt. So it
interesting,
came from a
I'm thinking there are two sets of rules. You've got the rules for the prison, but then you've also got the inner workings of the other prisoners, and I'm sure there's a whole other set of rules that go with that, right? I mean, you have to obey the guards and that part of it, but then there's a whole
yeah,
system going on just from what I understand. And
yeah.
also going in as a Muslim, I know I saw something that you'd said where you went into your cell, one of your cells, and there was somebody there who asked you what religion you were, because there were, and how did that
Yeah.
work? Because there were there's an unwritten kind of rule there.
Yeah, so it's like at the prison I was at, and there's some prisons where it's like racially and divided. So even though I have white skin, I can put the image of being a white guy. I'm not, because my faith is Muslim. So they put me in there with a white guy, and he said, "Look, man, when he asked me who am I running with, who are you gonna be with?" I told him that I'm Muslim. I'm gonna run with him. He's like, "Look, you can't be in this cell. That's just how it is. That's how it's run here." So that same day, I had to go to a different cell. It's really divided like that, like
Did you, and you had the
racially.
choice of
Yeah.
that though? Like you had how did that work? Where you could say, I have to move, and they just moved you?
He pretty much, him and I, we met with the lieutenant and said, look, this is what it is. He's Muslim, I'm white. We can't be in the same cell here. And this guy's been in the cell for years. So technically his cell. So I can't be like, no, you get out. I just got here. So they're able to find me a different cell, and I moved to a different cell that same day. But yeah, even stuff like that, man. But like you and I, we're talking, we don't care about what our religion is, what our skin color, but it's just a whole different world there. And that's what the part that I'm meaning that you have to adapt to, unfortunately.
So you on one hand, you were this kid, pretty kind of innocent, naive kid, and then you had to put on this kind of fake image to get the girl that you wanted. Then you get busted, you go into jail, and now you've got to almost create a whole other image, it seems like, because you can't be weak, I guess, or scared, or I don't know. So it's you have to grow sort of a thicker skin, and you have to adapt, like you said. I mean, that's got to mess with your brain because I mean, 20s, your early 20s, that's a lot to
Yeah.
process.
And you really hit that on the head, even from before the FBI situation. Like I said earlier, like it was a whole identity issues, period. So
Ugh.
the identity issues of being who am I, what am I, portraying something to a girl, and then going to prison, and then, like you said, adapting to a whole different persona. Like everything is thrown off. You know what I'm saying? Even I'll be honest with you, I'm 29 now, and even today I'm still trying to figure it out. Then I'm getting help for it. So like you said, you hit that right on the head. You did.
Well, I was just thinking it's got to be until you get out, and then it takes some time. You had to figure out who. Okay, now who am I for real? I mean, listen, I just turned 53. I'm still figuring that out, and I haven't had what you've
Yeah.
had. So I can imagine that now is when you're going, okay, wait a second, who am I? And you're the same person you were when you went in, but you had to have changed and matured and grown up so much in the things that you've seen, which is why you're such an advocate now. So, and how was your family throughout the whole thing? Because
Oh,
you're
they were
close.
devastated. I mean, it was, yeah, I mean, we were all close to the whole thing. I mean, they could have just been like, you know what, we want nothing to do with them anymore. Let him figure it out. We don't care. But they stuck with me. And part of my readaptation process and the incarceration thing, what made it a little easier was because I had family with me. A lot of people don't have that, unfortunately, but I was very fortunate with that.
It's an amazing thing to me because it shows me or shows anybody that, first of all, the internet is very, very scary. What a horribly scary place that in high schools, even in elementary schools, there are people who go in and teach kids about how to be savvy on the internet and how anything that you say on there, it's public and it's on there
Yeah.
forever. But this is such an extreme case of such an innocent little thing being, I mean, your whole life has changed. Okay, what was maybe the most, I don't want to say the most shocking thing, but what were some of the things that surprised you most while you were in prison?
I think one of the things that I've seen is that when I was growing up, I thought people who go to prison are bad guys. They're criminals. We should just lock them up forever because they're violent. They can't be with us. But one of the things that I really noticed was we incarcerate mental health and more than anything, in a sense. And learning more about the prison industrial complex, for profit, that was my perception. That's what I've been trying to put out here today, is that uh, just because somebody might have committed a crime does not make them a violent offender that needs to be locked up away. Let's look at if they're using, or if they're going through mental health problems, or, yeah, there's so many other factors. And that's what I've seen and I've witnessed going to the system. That's what shocked me, for real.
It's funny that you brought that up because something that you said in one of your videos really I found really powerful. And you said we don't incarcerate bad people, we punish mental health. And that really is so important. And it's amazing when you do say that and we don't realize that look, there are some bad people, there are some evil people 100% that are in prison and should be
Right.
in prison, but there are a lot of people, it's a question of circumstance. And I've seen where people will say, oh, I'd never steal. Well, thank God you never have to.
All right.
That's the whole thing. I mean, I would never, well, you're not in that situation, so you don't. But not everybody has the same situation or comes from the same situation. And
Yeah.
sometimes you do things that you would never ever do if you had if you came from a different place. So for sure, somebody where you're seeing it and you're meeting the people and you're saying these aren't bad people. They just got really screwed. And also when you're in jail and you don't have privilege and you don't have money and you don't have support, how do you even get out of that? And I a lot of the work that you do now is you talk about the how unfair it is for people once you have spent time in jail to get a fair shake. And I know that with a lot of your videos, you'll have people who ask really, good earnest questions. And then you have, I don't know how many times, how many, exactly what I'm going to say, where people go, well, just don't commit a crime,
Yeah.
and it's funny because the old expression is, what is it? If you don't do the crime, if you can't, do the time.
If you
And it's
can't
like,
do the
no,
time, don't do the crime.
but you've done the time. See, that's the
Yeah.
problem, is we're talking about when you've done the time, why do you still have to be punished? But that's the frustration, right? And you're lucky that you had a family to come out to. But what about the people who have nothing? How there's very little support, right? When you so what do you do if you come out and you don't have support?
That's part of the reason why our recidivism rate, our reoffending rate in the United States is the highest. Like, okay, somebody comes out, they try to get a job, they say you're a felon. They try to get other opportunities. Well, because of your criminal history, we can't do that. So you're putting this label that they're a criminal, that they're a bad guy. What do you think that person is going to resort to if they don't have housing, if they don't have medical, if they don't have the basic needs to survive? They're going to resort to crime, unfortunately. That's just what it is. That's why it's the highest within 3-4 years after they get out. So
Mm.
it's coupled with a lot of things. If somebody has done their time, there should be no reason why we're using that person's past against them if they're trying to get these opportunities. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, I'm set to go to a university and I applied to so many schools, and there were a few that just said, hey, and I even talked about this and I got so much backlash for it. They were like, hey, because of your criminal history, we can't let you attend our university. Like, you're telling me I have the grades, which is a requirement for students. I have the volunteer work, the extracurricular things that needed to become a student, but because of my past, you're not going to let me attend your university. And one university actually spoke at it. Like, you let me actually speak at your university.
Wow.
Yeah. So like
Wow.
so like I went to your property, to your campus to speak, but you won't let me attend that university. So that was really one of the first things that I dealt with as far as dealing with, like, okay, the felony label. And I was I was so mad, but it's like, in a situation, what could I do? It's more of legislative change in that sense. But like you said, that's the reason why people reoffend and go back, because of things like this.
I read a stat that said something like 1/3 of American adults have a record, and something like over 19 million of them have felonies. And but the thing is, it doesn't say whether it's murder or whether it's a non-violent, maybe drug possession. It just says felony. And
Right.
so it is, and it's exactly like you said. It's okay, so I've done my time. I mean, there are plenty of people who do terrible things and they don't get caught and they're doing whatever. But you've done your time, and then you want to get a job, you want to find a place to live, and they're saying, no, because of what you did 10 years ago, we're not going to give you a job, we're not going to give you a place to live. Okay, so now what are you supposed to do? Then people are desperate, and then when you're in a desperate situation, you do desperate things. So it doesn't even make sense to me. Like, it doesn't, there's no logic around not supporting people. And I hate those messages that you get from people saying, well, you just shouldn't have done it. It's like, no kidding.
Yeah.
Brilliant. But help me now. Because that's the thing. It's that we want to have productive members of society. So why wouldn't we help that? And it's gut wrenching too, because when you do your videos and you talk, oh God, you talk a lot about certain specific cases of like teenagers who just I mean, who either kill themselves or who have mental health issues and who are supposed to be checked on there was one recently every 15 minutes, and the guards were just, oh, I got busy,
Yeah.
forgot something happened,
Yeah.
and then they find him dead in his cell or whatever. And it's just the conditions, it sounds like, the punishments and just how unsafe it is. You come out of that situation, there's got to be some PTSD. There's got to be some trauma there. You'd think that there would be some sort of support. I mean, is it the most frustrating thing that you're dealing with? Is it the lack of support after? Is it the prejudice and the judgment with having felon on your sort of in your records?
Yeah, and I think honestly, it's both of those, because some people tell me, well, a felon is not a class. You're not a class. Like, for example, like, if you're trying to get a job, well, because you're a woman, I'm not going to hire you. You know what I'm saying? But like, so they're trying to equate that you don't have like privileges and stuff like that. But my thing is like, okay, if you're denying me simply on the fact that I'm a felon, then yes, unfortunately, you are placing us at a class. And it's also the mental health care. Like, when I came home, I mean, it was peak COVID pandemic anyway, but it was a situation where there was no therapy. They just wanted to drop me to see if I was just testing dirty. There was nothing for me to like, I had license and stuff like that, but there was nothing outlets for me. Let's go get you a driver's license, or here are these jobs that are felon friendly. There was nothing like that. And that was, the mental health, and for example, of just trying to get on your feet with the basic needs. There was none of that stuff. And as far as the opportunities go, like, they're just going to constantly deny you as a felon. I know this one guy, he went to prison and he's telling me like he has a job. He looked so hard. He's making, meager wages, but he's like, hey, look, man, in my past, when he was dealing, I can make the money. I can make the money that I'm making in a month right now here, this job, for example, within a day. Obviously, he's not choosing to deal, but like even the jobs that you want to give them, it's like they can't even survive off that. So it's like, it's a lose-lose this season when you look at it all the way around.
And again, it's such a traumatizing thing just to be in prison. The fact that once you get out, to have that state of mind where, okay, I want to do good now. I want to get a job. I want to have a normal life. I want to have a family. And then you have all these obstacles. Prison is clearly, it's not it's
No.
punishment,
Yeah.
correct? And that wouldn't it be so much? Shouldn't the goal be? And again, I know people will be listening to this and go, but somebody killed someone. Even in that situation, I mean, sometimes it's situational, but you got to think. While some people aren't, it's not possible to rehabilitate some people. I'm sure a lot of people, given the right support, can be rehabilitated, and that, God, it makes all of us safer. You talk. There were a few things I'd mentioned earlier to you where I was just kind of blown away by the punishments. And you mentioned you did a video on, was it Nutriloaf that you
Yeah.
talked
Yeah.
about? Can you
Yeah.
explain how that it's like a punishment with food?
So, like, for example, a lot of people assume, like, when you get in prison, you have rules and regulations that the COs and the guards want you to have. And if you break those rules, you can get sent to solitary. Well, there's other forms of punishment, is because if you break some of the rules, or not even that, if you're on lockdown or something is going on, where we'll take a thing called Nutrilite, where they mix a bunch of meats, veggies, coffee all together into, like, how you've seen it, like, to this delicate looking loaf, and feed it to them. And when I talk about that, there's lawsuits penned against this. Some states have banned it because that's a violation of the Eighth Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment. There's people that have developed gastro problems and other health problems because of eating that. And I'm like, okay, food is a human right. I believe we're able to all agree with that. I hope, which some people don't agree with that, unfortunately, on my
Right.
lovely toxic comment section. But like, we're punishing them with something that I believe is a human right. And that is basically what the whole premise of that video was. Like, it doesn't matter when necessarily somebody's done or anything like that, but like, you're barring somebody from eating, or you're feeding them that stuff, is absolutely, it's back to medieval times.
And you also talked about, oh my God, this blew me away too, about the organ donation
Yeah.
as an incentive. Can you please explain that to me?
Yeah. So, like, for example, like in Massachusetts, they're trying to pass legislation, like, we'll give you a couple months off your sentence, a month or two off your sentence. If let's get your liver, let's get your bone marrow. You know what I'm saying? Let's just
It's
that
like
is
a movie. It sounds
yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah. And some people are sitting in prison and like, shoot, I can get off a month or two early. Why not? Because they're put in that position. So they're not worried about, as far as medically, they want to get out. So it's highly, highly, highly exploitive in my eyes. And, it's crazy what the level they're trying to go to as far as these things.
well, trading organs for time off. It's kind of like, listen, if you're going to give them time off, and like if they're not a danger and you think that they could be back, honestly, if you think that they could be put back into society 3 months early, if they give you a kidney, then they can be back in society now. Do you know
Exactly.
what I mean?
Exactly.
It shouldn't be, oh, you want to keep your organs? Well, sorry, you
Yeah.
gotta spend more time.
Yeah.
Like, it really does seem, again, this sounds kind of naive, but yes, there are people who've done bad things. And yes, there's this element of punishment, but you're still human beings. And it really seems like you're just treated like, well, beyond less than. And then the fact that once you get out, there's still the stigma attached to it.
Yeah.
Does it feel like it's always a struggle, or do you feel now, because I know like you're in school and like you're taking care of yourself, when does that kind of lift a little bit when you see hope? I know probably not everybody does ever get that
Yeah, so,
kind of relief.
like, as far as the prison in itself, when they say punishment, I believe the punishment factor, like, your freedom is already taken away, like, I
Hmm.
believe, one of the most precious things. That's punishment. But for somebody to starve to death, or somebody to be killed by the COs, or for somebody to freeze to death, or eaten by bed bugs, like I talked about it before,
Yes.
that's not
Yes.
the punishment, okay? That is where you draw the line of inhumane. So you take somebody's freedom, and they're serving time, there should be already programs and classes for them to better themselves and to find out the root cause of their crime, treat that so they can come home. Because let's face it, not only more about 98% of our offenders are going to come home at some point. That's just what it is. So prison in itself is the breeding ground as far as dealing with the law enforcement, dealing with the conditions in there, just the day-to-day. It's a breeding ground to become violent, racist, a better criminal. I mean, you name it, that is the breeding ground for it.
Yeah.
So you're going to come out angrier and potentially more dangerous than you already were back in. And coming home, dealing with the stigma of that felon label attached to you. It's all about, I believe right now, unfortunately, nobody's going to help us. It's about the individual. So for me, going back to school, trying to get into shape, trying to have a better relationship with my community. I looked at myself like, bro, they want you to go back. Are you going to allow that, or are you going to make changes in your life? And that is really kind of where I'm at.
Wow. So it's almost like instead of this kind of like, okay, you're out now, we're working together to make you better. It's kind of like it's a defiance.
Yeah,
It's like, I'm going to have a better life in spite of you, not because of you,
exactly.
but in spite of you. It's funny that you say how you become almost a better criminal, because I had a friend years ago who's a criminology professor, and he was doing his thesis on young offenders. And he was talking to a really, really young kid who was caught fencing stuff that he'd stolen. And he said, how do you know at like 13 how to fence stuff? He's like, oh, I learned that the last time I was here.
Yeah.
And from the older kid, and that was the thing. It wasn't, even then for kids, there was no rehabilitation. You're meeting tougher criminals. You're meeting people with more. So yes, if there was school, if there was something, even, you know what it is? It's just hope. I bet for some people who are incarcerated, when you know, shit, I'm going to get out of here, and what the hell am I going to do then? You lose that, and then where's the incentive to do better? But if you felt like, okay, I'm going to do my time, and then I'm going to get out, and I'm going to start this new life, that's got to go. I mean, that takes you really far, and not having that, that's got to be devastating. One thing I don't want to forget to ask you about: you were in jail with some famous people.
Yeah.
There was one that you have a picture with the Somali pirate from Captain Phillips, right?
Phillips, yeah.
Abdulwali Muze. Is that so? What's that like? I mean, that's got to be, because you said he was just like he was young. He was way younger than I thought, right? How old was he when he came to
So
prison?
Musa was from the Somali pirate. This is when back in 2008, 2009, when we're hearing
This
on
is
the
I'm
news.
the captain now.
Yeah, I'm the captain now.
Yeah.
This is where we were hearing about ships getting hijacked. He was 16 years old when he caught his case. I mean, this kid grew up in poverty. He grew up in violence. He told me that they used to play with grenades back in Somalia. You know what I'm saying? So instead of playing with balls, they were playing with grenades and weapons, because that was his life. And in order for him to make money, he was hijacking ships. It wasn't necessarily a terrorist. He wasn't for ideological. He was just a robber. He just needed money. So his mistake was, unfortunately, where he hijacked an American ship. And if you have that flag, whatever jurisdiction that flag has, that's where it falls at. So because it was an American ship, it became America's situation. And that's what ended up getting caught. So it was 4 hijackers. 3 of them died, and he was the surviving one, you know. I think that's traumatizing in itself, to see somebody get sniped, I believe, in the head like that. So he got caught, he got arrested, and they gave him 30 years. I mean, 30 years for a 16-year-old kid, man. I mean, his out day is around 2040 something. You know, I mean, it's going to be, it's a very, very long time. And now my point was, I'm not here to judge him. Whatever he did, he did. When I met him, he was always smiling. He was happy. He was playing cards. He was praying. He was the biggest celebrity in prison. People wanted photos with him. It doesn't matter what race they were or anything like that. They wanted a picture with him. They wanted to hang out.
There was a movie about it.
There was a movie about it. I remember the movie came on when he was there, and we were all watching it. The whole prison.
No way.
Yeah, I swear. Everybody was watching it, you know, and had conversations with them about the situation, about the movie, about so many things. And my perception of him was just not obvious. It's way different than the movie, and it's not that. And people were mad at me, like, how can you defend this guy? Trying to cancel me over it. But like, no, man, that's, you know, I know if there was a situation that happened
outside of prison.
Yeah.
You mean people
outside of prison, when I made like videos about him, they were like, but I know if there was a situation that happened and I was in danger, he was going to be right by my side, potentially to help me and potentially put himself in danger because of that. So that's loyalty right there. And, and I was kind of, it was nice to meet him. It really was.
It's I'm listening and I'm just thinking that's the story that you're telling me about him to me is way more interesting. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Than the movie that wasn't. Like to me, I'd love a story on what you just said about these kids who grew up. I mean, I would never thought he was 16 years old and just where he came from. It's too bad well, because that's not what the story was. It was about the hero American
Yeah. Of
who
course.
there's controversy there too. But I find the really interesting part of that and a full to get the full picture because that's what you're not seeing. And that's the same thing with ex-convicts is you're not seeing the full picture.
Right.
And a lot of people, it's very easy. I know I think you've done a video where there was this guy, really smug landlord who was just very, very comfortable with saying that he would never rent to somebody who'd been in jail. And it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
I'd rent to anybody over this guy. Like it's privilege.
Yeah.
It's absolute 100% privilege. Now, when you got out, did you know right away that you were going to become an advocate? Is it the type of thing where you're like, okay, now that I've seen what I've seen, I can't shut up about it? Or do you ever feel like, oh my God, I never want to talk about it again? Like, do you find that there's both of that?
So yeah, I thought my problems were over when I was going to come home. Because I didn't know, nobody braced me for this, but like dealing with the mental health problems afterwards and just the sense of more loneliness, I said, okay, this could potentially go the same south again because I'm dealing with the same factors plus now having a record on me. One day I just sat down, I was on social media and I've seen a couple people making videos about their time in prison. I was like, you know what? Let me give it a shot. And I've noticed I felt better when I spoke about it rather than keeping it. And some people don't want to talk about it. That's their perception. That's for them. For me, I felt better when I did speak about it. And I started speaking about it and it just kind of took off from there. And people were asking me questions and what was this and what was this, your day to day, and made connections with people. And it just kind of, so it was really in a sense by chance, it wasn't necessarily planned.
And do you think that gave you sort of a part of the self-esteem that you were missing before everything
I
happened?
think so because I really figured it was a me problem in a sense because when I was blowing up on social media, all these women now were kind of flocking to like my DMs. I'm like, okay, where were you ladies before this situation? Because if this would happen before, none of this would have happened. So that was one, but making connections with people from different states or different worlds, and it kind of, I guess, people valued what I had to say, and that's where the identity comes in. Like, okay, you know what? True, I'm dealing with all these problems, but I guess everything happens for a reason. Maybe this is what this is what you needed in your life to kind of talk about this situation now. So it was something that maybe everything happens for a reason, but that's really where it's at right now.
Well, they say everybody needs a purpose, right? And that's the thing that we need when we get up in the morning. And it sounds like before everything happened, there was no purpose. You didn't see a purpose, right? You were working at what seemed like a dead end job all the time. There was no social aspect to it. And now you have a purpose. I'm not one to say it's a great thing that happened. And I'm so not the person that says if that hadn't happened, that you wouldn't,
Right.
I don't go by that. I'd love for you to have gotten here without that. But this is a situation that you're in. And I think having a purpose and being a voice, because I think, look, there are always going to be people who are going to say, no, prisoners are prisoners and that's it. Lock the door, throw away the key, and you're never going to change that. But there are also going to be people who are going to want to listen and you are going to have a very positive impact on. So where are you now? What are you doing now? What are you excited about now?
So actually next month, May coming up, I'm set to go to our capital here in Michigan to argue for legislative change to end solitary confinement. I start the university pretty soon. I'm very excited for that. And I'm just all about like right now, like I'm in the library. I'm all about just trying to, I'm a nerd. I'm not the conventional convict. I guess people want to, like, I love to learn. I'm a sociology major, so that's really what I heavily study on. It's just as far as advocacy too. I'm just all about like trying to, I guess, self-develop more in myself as far as knowledge or other things and opportunities. So that's kind of where it's at right now, to be honest with you.
No, that's great. So you're studying sociology. So where do you want to be? Where do you
Hopefully long term, I'm doing sociology. I'm also in pre-law. So hopefully once I finish is to go to law school. Hopefully. There's some things about felony. I have to go to the board and all that type of stuff, but hopefully law school until become a defense attorney. Hopefully that's the goal.
Wow, isn't that
Yeah.
amazing? Wow, and I bet that's nothing you would have thought of
No,
back in 2015,
no,
2016. That
absolutely
wasn't
not.
even on
No,
the
it
radar.
wasn't. No, it wasn't.
Wow. So I'm gonna say, I mean, I want you to before we go, I want you to tell everyone how they can reach you. But I love your videos, TikTok, Instagram. I think that you have so much insight, and you do it in a very fun way a lot of times too. But also, you do bring the serious issues. I mean, there are some videos that I find hard to watch when you're talking about just the treatment of some people, but it's all super important. So I strongly encourage people to check out Khalil Ray on everything on social media. But you tell people where they can
Yes, so
reach
I'm
you.
on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. It's all Khalil Ray Jr. That's my username. I love to if people shoot me like a DM, I love to answer DMs. So comments, I love to answer comments unless you're being disrespectful. That's where I kind of draw the line. Obviously, I love to I guess engage with people. So if there's anything that you really would want to know as far as the system and it's I would love to. I'd love to give you that ear. If I can just change one person's perspective compared to 100 people, for example, then I feel like I did the job. So Instagram, YouTube, and it's TikTok is primarily the main channels.
Well, you're absolutely making a difference, and I find you very impactful and very
Thank you.
powerful. And I'm thrilled that we got this opportunity to speak. I really have been so excited to talk to you. So
Likewise.
thank you so much for taking the
Thank
time
you,
to speak
Marcy. I
with us
appreciate that.
today.
Yeah. See ya.
Okay. Take care. And thank you everyone for listening. And don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.